becomes so difficult to break that life has to spend everything it has just to slow you down. Bad morning? You still show up. Difficult person? You refuse to lose control. No motivation? The work still gets finished. Rejection? You recover and move again. Plans collapse? You rebuild without turning the disaster into your identity. This is the kind of strength almost nobody develops because it cannot be bought, watched, downloaded, or borrowed from somebody else. It has to be earned in ugly moments when quitting would be easier and nobody would blame you for doing it. Every hard thing you willingly finish adds another layer to you, until eventually life throws something at you that would have destroyed the old version of you and discovers that person no longer exists. Chapter 1. Do one thing every day that your mind wants to avoid. Your mind learns from repetition. If you always choose comfort, your mind starts expecting life to be easy. Then even small difficulties begin to feel heavy. But when you regularly face discomfort, difficult things slowly become easier to handle. This is why you should do one useful thing every day that your mind wants to avoid. Finish the hard task before watching entertainment. Exercise when you feel lazy. Make the phone call you keep delaying. Have the difficult conversation. Work for a while without checking your phone. These small actions teach your mind an important lesson. You can feel uncomfortable without escaping. You can feel tired and still continue. You can feel nervous and still take action. You can feel bored and still stay focused. Many people are not weak. They have simply trained themselves to escape discomfort too quickly. When boredom appears, they grab the phone. When anxiety appears, they avoid the situation. When criticism appears, they react. When work becomes difficult, they stop. Break that habit. When your mind says, "I don't want to," ask yourself, is this really dangerous, or is it just uncomfortable? If it is only uncomfortable, and it will help you grow, stay with it a little longer. Every time you face something your mind wanted to avoid, you become more disciplined. Over time, difficult tasks, difficult people, and difficult days will not control you as easily. Chapter 2. Stop making easy things your reward. For avoiding hard things, your mind naturally wants the easiest option. Scrolling feels easier than working. Resting feels easier than exercising, and avoiding a problem feels easier than solving it. But if you always choose what feels easy first, important things keep getting delayed. Train yourself to reverse the order. Do the hard thing first, and enjoy the easy thing afterward. Finish your important work before entertainment. Exercise before relaxing. Handle the responsibility before wasting time on distractions. This teaches your mind that comfort must not control your decisions. You may not feel motivated, but you can still begin. You may feel tired, but you can still complete one important task. Discipline grows when you stop asking what feels easiest and start asking what needs to be done. Start with the task you are most tempted to avoid. Do not spend hours thinking about it. Begin with one small step and keep moving. Most difficult tasks become much easier once you actually start. Every time you choose responsibility before comfort, you become more disciplined. Eventually, doing hard things will stop feeling like punishment. It will become part of who you are. Chapter 3. Learn to handle difficult people without becoming difficult yourself. Some of the hardest things in life are not tasks. They are people. A difficult person can test your patience, disturb your mood, make you angry, and pull you into arguments you never wanted. They may criticize you, misunderstand you, disrespect you, interrupt you, or try to make you react emotionally. The first thing you need to understand is that you cannot control how other people behave. You can explain yourself clearly, stay respectful, and do everything right, but some people will still choose to be difficult. If you keep trying to control their behavior, you will only exhaust yourself. Your real power begins when you focus on controlling your own response. When someone says something disrespectful, your first reaction may be to answer immediately. You may want to prove them wrong, defend yourself, or say something that hurts them back. But reacting too quickly often gives the other person control over you. They say one sentence, and suddenly they control your mood for the next hour. Strength means creating a small space between what happens and how you respond. Before you react, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Not every comment deserves an answer. Not every misunderstanding needs an explanation. Not every rude person deserves access to your emotions. Sometimes the strongest response is to stay calm. Sometimes it is to speak firmly. Sometimes it is to say, I am not going to continue this conversation. Sometimes it is to walk away. Staying calm does not mean you are weak. It means you are choosing your behavior instead of allowing another person to choose it for you. You also need to learn how to set boundaries. Being a good person does not mean allowing people to treat you badly. You can be kind and still say no. You can forgive someone and still keep your distance. You can understand why someone behaves badly without allowing their behavior to become your problem. Difficult people often teach you where you still need to grow. An impatient person can show you how easily you lose patience. A critical person can show you how much you depend on approval. A controlling person can teach you the importance of boundaries. Instead of allowing every difficult person to destroy your peace, use the situation to understand yourself better. You will also meet people who want a reaction from you. They may keep repeating the same argument, bring up old mistakes, or try to make you angry. In those moments, remember that you do not have to participate in every battle you are invited into. Walking away from an unnecessary argument is not losing. Protecting your peace is not weakness. Refusing to explain yourself for the 10th time is not rude. Sometimes maturity means understanding that the conversation is going nowhere and choosing to stop. Do not become difficult just because someone else is difficult. If they are angry, you do not have to become angry. If they are disrespectful, you do not have to become disrespectful. If they are loud, you do not have to become louder. Their behavior belongs to them. Your behavior belongs to you. This takes practice. At first, you may still react quickly. You may still feel angry or frustrated. That is normal. The goal is not to stop feeling emotions. The goal is to stop allowing every emotion to control your actions. The next time someone tries to disturb your peace, slow down. Take a moment before speaking. Decide whether the situation needs a response, a boundary, or silence. Then choose the action that protects your self-respect, instead of feeding your anger. The more you practice this, the stronger you become. Difficult people will still exist, but they will have less power over your mind. You will stop carrying their words for hours. You will stop replaying every conversation. You will stop allowing one difficult person to ruin an entire day. Real strength is not proving that you can defeat difficult people. It is proving that difficult people cannot easily defeat your peace. Chapter 4. Become the person who can survive a bad day without destroying a good life. A difficult day can make your whole life look worse than it really is. When you are tired, angry, disappointed, or under pressure, small problems begin to feel much bigger. One mistake can make you think you are failing. One argument can make you question an entire relationship. One rejection can make you feel like nothing is working. This is why you must learn how to survive bad days without making decisions that create bigger problems. The first thing to remember is simple. A bad day is not a bad life. You may have had a terrible morning, received disappointing news, made a mistake, or dealt with someone who disturbed your peace. That does not mean everything is falling apart. Your emotions may tell you that the problem is permanent, but emotions often become louder when you are exhausted. When something goes wrong, your mind may immediately start making the situation bigger. You miss one opportunity and think you will never succeed. Someone ignores you and you start questioning your value. You make one mistake and begin thinking you always ruin everything. This kind of thinking makes a difficult moment even harder. Learn to separate what happened from what your mind is adding to it. Maybe you failed at one task. That does not mean you are a failure. Maybe someone treated you badly. That does not mean everyone will treat you badly. Maybe today was difficult. That does not mean tomorrow will be the same. Strong people do not believe every negative thought that appears during a bad moment. They understand that tired minds often create extreme conclusions. Instead of reacting immediately, they slow down and deal with what is actually happening. When you are having a bad day, do not try to solve your entire life at once. Handle the next thing in front of you. Finish the task you can finish. Take care of your body. Eat properly. Drink water. Take a short walk. Clean your space, or get some rest. Small actions can bring your mind back under control. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply refuse to make the situation worse. You may not be able to fix everything today, but you can stop yourself from sending an angry message. You can avoid quitting something important because you are frustrated. You can stop yourself from saying something you will regret. You can wait until your emotions become calmer before making a serious decision. This is an important kind of discipline. Discipline is not only waking up early, exercising, or working hard. Discipline also means controlling yourself when your emotions are telling you to destroy something valuable. There will be days when you want to give up. Maybe the results are not coming fast enough. Maybe you have worked hard and nobody seems to notice. Maybe you are dealing with problems at work, at home, or inside your own mind. During those moments, remind yourself that you do not need to feel strong every second. You only need to avoid making permanent decisions because of temporary pain. You are allowed to feel disappointed. You are allowed to feel tired. You are allowed to have a difficult day. But do not allow one difficult day to convince you that everything you have built means nothing. Think about the hard days you have already survived. There were moments in your past when you thought a problem would never end. At the time, it felt huge. But eventually the situation changed, you changed, or you learned how to live through it. That is proof that the way you feel today will not necessarily be the way you feel forever. Use your past as evidence. Tell yourself, I have survived difficult days before, and I can survive this one too. You do not need to know exactly how everything will work out. You only need enough patience to keep moving without destroying your progress. Bad days are also powerful training. Easy days do not teach you much about your character because everything is going your way. Difficult days show you how you behave when life stops cooperating. Can you remain respectful when you are angry? Can you finish your responsibility when you are tired? Can you stay focused when something has disappointed you? Can you control your mouth when someone provokes you? These moments build emotional strength. Every time you handle a difficult day without losing control, your confidence becomes deeper. You start trusting yourself because you know you can function even when you do not feel your best. Do not expect yourself to perform perfectly every day. Some days your best will look different. Maybe yesterday you completed 10 tasks, and today you can only complete 3. Complete those 3. Maybe yesterday you felt confident, and today you feel uncertain. Keep moving anyway. Consistency does not mean doing everything perfectly. It means refusing to completely abandon yourself when life becomes difficult. You should also learn when to rest. Forcing yourself to do hard things does not mean ignoring exhaustion until you break down. There is a difference between quitting because something is uncomfortable and resting because your body or mind genuinely needs recovery. Strength includes knowing that difference. Rest with purpose, then return. Do not turn one day of recovery into weeks of avoidance. Give yourself enough space to become clear again, then continue with what matters. When difficult people are part of your bad day, be even more careful with your reactions. You may already be tired, which makes it easier for someone to trigger you. Do not give them control simply because your patience is low. Take a moment before answering. If necessary, leave the conversation and return when you can think clearly. A strong person does not need every day to go according to plan. They know how to adjust. If one plan fails, they find another way. If they lose one opportunity, they continue searching. If someone disappoints them, they do not allow that disappointment to destroy everything else in their life. This is how you become harder to break. You stop expecting life to protect you from bad days, and you start trusting yourself to handle them. The next time everything feels heavy, do not tell yourself, "My life is falling apart." Tell yourself, "Today is difficult, and I will handle today." Keep the problem inside its real size. Do not add tomorrow's worries, yesterday's regrets, and every old failure to one difficult moment. Handle this hour, then handle the next one. Sometimes strength is not winning. Sometimes strength is simply making it through the day without quitting, destroying your relationships, abandoning your goals, or turning against yourself. Bad days will come, difficult people will appear, plans will fail, you will sometimes feel tired, frustrated, and uncertain, but none of these things have to control what happens next. Become the person who can have a terrible day and still protect a good life. That is real emotional strength. Chapter 5. Train yourself to finish what you start. Starting something is usually easy because the beginning feels exciting. You have fresh energy, new ideas, and a picture in your mind of what the result could become. You start a workout plan, begin reading a book, create a new project, learn a new skill, or make a promise to change your life. In the beginning, motivation makes everything feel possible. The real challenge begins later, when the excitement disappears and the work starts feeling repetitive. This is where many people stop. They do not stop because they are incapable. They stop because the feeling they had at the beginning is gone. The work becomes slower, progress becomes harder to notice, and nobody is standing beside them, telling them to continue. They begin wondering whether the goal is still worth it. This is the moment when discipline matters more than motivation. If you want to become mentally stronger, train yourself to finish what you start. Do not make a habit of beginning things and abandoning them as soon as they become difficult. Every time you quit too quickly, you teach your mind that discomfort is a good enough reason to stop. But every time you continue through boredom, frustration, or slow progress, you teach yourself that your decisions are stronger than your temporary feelings. Think about how many things people leave unfinished. They buy books and never finish reading them. They start exercising and stop after 2 weeks. They begin learning a skill but quit when it becomes complicated. They make plans for their future but abandon them when results do not come quickly. They often believe they need more motivation, when what they really need is the ability to stay with something after motivation disappears. You will not feel excited about your goals every day. Some days you will wake up ready to work, and other days you will have to push yourself just to begin. This is normal. The mistake is believing that you should only continue when you feel inspired. If you depend on inspiration, your progress will always be inconsistent. Learn to work even when the feeling is missing. If you promised yourself that you would exercise, do the workout even if you have to make it shorter. If you plan to study, sit down and complete the time you promised yourself. If you started an important project, continue working on it, even when the progress feels slow. You do not have to perform perfectly every day, but you should avoid disappearing from your goal every time life becomes uncomfortable. There will also be moments when your mind tries to convince you that quitting is reasonable. It will say, "You can do this tomorrow," or "Missing one day does not matter." Sometimes one day truly does not matter, but repeated excuses slowly become a pattern. One delayed task becomes another. One missed workout becomes a week. 1 week becomes a month. Eventually, the goal that once mattered to you becomes something you only talk about. This is why you should be careful with the promises you make to yourself. Every time you say you will do something and then repeatedly ignore it, you weaken your trust in yourself. After enough broken promises, you stop believing your own plans. You tell yourself that you will wake up early, but part of you already knows you probably will not. You say you will finish the project, but you remember all the other projects you abandoned. Self-trust is rebuilt through action. Start making smaller promises and keeping them. If you say you will work for 30 minutes, complete the 30 minutes. If you say you will finish one chapter, finish it. If you decide to exercise 3 times this week, do your best to complete all 3 sessions. Small promises may not look impressive, but keeping them teaches your mind that your words have meaning. Finishing also requires patience, because real progress is often boring. Success is not made only from exciting moments. Much of it comes from doing the same useful things again and again. A person becomes physically strong by repeating basic exercises. A writer improves by writing regularly. A business grows through thousands of ordinary decisions. A skilled person becomes skilled because they stayed with the process long after the beginning stopped feeling exciting. You have to become comfortable with repetition. Not every day will bring a breakthrough. Sometimes your job is simply to show up and do the work. You may not see immediate improvement, but that does not mean nothing is happening. Progress often grows quietly before it becomes visible. This is especially important when other people appear to be moving faster than you. You may look around and see someone getting better results, earning more money, becoming more successful, or reaching a goal before you. If you constantly compare your progress to theirs, you may become discouraged and quit your own path. Stay focused on your work. You do not know how long another person has been practicing, what advantages they have, or what struggles they are facing privately. Their progress does not cancel yours. Your responsibility is to keep improving from where you are. You should also understand that finishing does not mean blindly continuing something that is clearly wrong for you. Sometimes changing direction is intelligent. Sometimes a goal no longer fits your life, or new information shows you that another path is better. The important thing is to make that decision calmly, not because you are having one difficult day. Never make quitting your first response to discomfort. Before you stop, ask yourself why you want to stop. Are you truly moving in the wrong direction, or are you simply tired? Is the goal no longer important, or are you frustrated because progress is slow? Is the situation harmful, or have you reached the difficult part where real growth begins? Many people quit exactly where they needed to become more patient. They mistake resistance for a sign that they should stop. But almost every meaningful goal eventually reaches a stage where it becomes difficult. If you constantly change direction whenever that stage arrives, you will spend your life beginning and rarely finishing. Break large goals into smaller pieces. A huge task can make your mind feel overwhelmed, but a small next step feels manageable. Instead of thinking about finishing an entire project, focus on what you can complete today. Instead of worrying about losing a large amount of weight, focus on today's workout and today's meals. Instead of thinking about mastering an entire skill, practice one part of it. Small steps make finishing easier because they give you regular proof of progress. Each completed step creates momentum. You begin seeing yourself as someone who follows through rather than someone who only makes plans. There will be days when continuing feels extremely difficult. On those days, lower the size of the task if necessary, but try not to completely abandon the habit. If you cannot work for 2 hours, work for 20 minutes. If you cannot complete the full workout, do something smaller. The goal is to protect the habit of showing up. This matters because consistency keeps your connection to the goal alive. Once you completely stop for too long, returning becomes harder. Your mind becomes comfortable with doing nothing, and starting again begins to feel like another huge task. Finishing things also changes how you see yourself. Every completed task becomes evidence that you are capable of following through. You remember the times when you wanted to stop but continued. That memory becomes confidence the next time something becomes difficult. This kind of confidence is stronger than positive thinking because it is based on evidence. You do not have to tell yourself that you are disciplined. You have proof. You finished the work. You kept the promise. You stayed when things became boring. You continued after motivation disappeared. Over time, you become less dependent on people pushing you. You do not need someone constantly reminding you to work. You do not need applause every time you make progress. You learn how to keep going quietly because you understand that your future depends on what you repeatedly finish, not what you repeatedly start. So become careful about what you begin, and once something truly matters, give it enough time and effort to become real. Do not allow boredom to defeat you. Do not allow one bad day to erase months of progress. Do not allow slow results to convince you that your work is useless. Train yourself to finish. Finish the small task. Finish the workout. Finish the page. Finish the responsibility. Finish what you promised yourself you would do. Every time you follow through, you build something more valuable than motivation. You build trust in yourself. And when you trust yourself, hard things become easier because you already know that even when the excitement disappears, you are capable of continuing until the work is done. Chapter 6. Build a mind that does not need life to be easy. The goal of becoming stronger is not to create a life where nothing goes wrong. That kind of life does not exist. No matter how disciplined, careful, intelligent, or successful you become, there will still be difficult days. Plans will fail, people will disappoint you, work will become stressful. You will sometimes feel tired, uncertain, frustrated, or afraid. Strength does not mean removing all of these things. Strength means becoming the kind of person who can still function when they appear. Many people spend too much time waiting for life to become easier. They tell themselves they will feel better when the problem disappears, when they have more money, when people finally understand them, when work becomes less stressful, or when everything starts going according to plan. But there will always be another challenge. If your peace depends on having no problems, you will spend most of your life waiting for peace. A stronger mindset says, life does not need to be easy for me to keep moving. You can have a difficult morning and still complete your responsibilities. You can feel nervous and still walk into the room. You can be disappointed and still behave with maturity. You can be tired and still do what matters. You can experience pressure without allowing pressure to control every decision you make. This is what mental strength really looks like. It is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is simply getting out of bed when you would rather stay there. Sometimes it is finishing a task after a frustrating day. Sometimes it is refusing to argue with a difficult person. Sometimes it is continuing with your plan, even though you do not feel confident. These moments may look small, but they are building a mind that does not collapse every time life becomes uncomfortable. The problem with always choosing the easiest path is that your ability to handle difficulty becomes weaker. If you avoid every uncomfortable conversation, the next conversation feels even more frightening. If you quit whenever work becomes stressful, your ability to work under pressure never develops. If you always run away from criticism, you become more sensitive to what people think. The things you constantly avoid slowly become more powerful in your mind. The only way to change this is to face manageable difficulty instead of automatically escaping from it. When something is hard but important, give yourself a chance to handle it. You may feel uncomfortable in the beginning, but discomfort does not mean you are doing something wrong. Sometimes, discomfort simply means you are doing something your mind has not learned to handle yet. Think about physical strength. A person does not become stronger by lifting something that feels effortless every day. The body grows when it is given resistance and enough time to recover. Your mind works in a similar way. If you never face pressure, your ability to handle pressure remains weak. If you regularly face difficult but manageable situations, your mind begins adapting. This does not mean searching for unnecessary suffering. You do not need to make your life harder just to prove that you are strong. There is already enough difficulty in normal life. Your responsibility is to stop running from every challenge that could help you grow. When something difficult appears, instead of immediately thinking, "How can I escape this?" ask yourself, "How can I handle this well?" That question changes your focus. Escape makes you think only about removing discomfort. Strength makes you think about becoming capable. Suppose you are given a difficult responsibility at work. Your first reaction may be fear because you are not completely sure you can do it. The old version of you may look for a way to avoid the task or pass it to someone else. The stronger version says, "I may not know everything yet, but I can learn." You start, make mistakes, ask questions, improve, and eventually discover that the task was not beyond you. The same thing happens with difficult conversations. Maybe you need to tell someone that their behavior is unacceptable. You may spend days thinking about the conversation because you are afraid of conflict. Avoiding it gives you temporary comfort, but the problem remains. When you finally speak calmly and clearly, you teach yourself that uncomfortable conversations can be survived. This is how your world becomes bigger. Every difficulty you learn to handle gives you more freedom. If you know you can handle criticism, you become less afraid to express yourself. If you know you can handle rejection, you become more willing to try. If you know you can handle failure, you become less afraid of ambitious goals. If you know you can handle difficult people, they have less power over your mood. You begin living differently because fear is no longer making every decision for you. A strong mind also understands that feelings are temporary. You may feel overwhelmed today and completely different tomorrow. You may feel afraid before doing something and proud afterward. You may feel like quitting during the hardest part and feel grateful that you continued once it is finished. This is why you should be careful about treating every emotion like an instruction. Feeling tired does not always mean stop. Feeling nervous does not always mean danger. Feeling uncertain does not always mean you are making the wrong decision. Sometimes your feelings are simply responding to something unfamiliar. Learn to listen to your emotions without automatically obeying them. If your body genuinely needs rest, rest. If something is truly dangerous, protect yourself. But if your mind simply wants comfort because a useful task feels difficult, you do not have to follow that feeling. Tell yourself, "I can feel this," and still continue. You can feel nervous and still speak. You can feel tired and still complete one important task. You can feel disappointed and still treat people well. You can feel uncertain and still take the next step. This ability becomes extremely valuable on difficult days because those are the days when your emotions become louder. When everything is going well, discipline is easy. When life becomes stressful, your mind starts looking for quick relief. You may want to abandon your routine, argue with someone, waste hours online, eat badly, or stop working completely. The stronger response is not perfection. The stronger response is maintaining enough control that one difficult moment does not destroy everything else. Maybe you cannot perform at 100% today. Give 60% instead of 0. Maybe you cannot complete the entire task. Complete the most important part. Maybe you cannot solve the whole problem tonight. Take one useful step and return tomorrow with a clearer mind. This teaches you something important. Progress does not require perfect conditions. Many people lose years waiting for perfect conditions. They want more confidence before they begin. They want more time before they become disciplined. They want everyone around them to support them. They want their fear to disappear. But life rarely gives you a perfect moment. You often have to begin while things are still uncertain. You have to learn while working. You have to become confident through experience. You have to build discipline while still feeling lazy. You have to become emotionally strong while dealing with difficult people. The strength comes from the process, not before it. This is why difficult days can become valuable. Nobody enjoys disappointment, pressure, or failure, but these experiences reveal things about you that easy days cannot. You discover whether you can remain patient when something takes longer than expected. You discover whether you can control your words when someone is disrespectful. You discover whether you can keep your promises when nobody is watching. Every difficult day gives you a chance to practice the person you want to become. Suppose everything goes wrong one morning. You wake up late, receive bad news, make a mistake, and then someone speaks to you badly. Your mind may immediately say, "This day is ruined." Once you believe that, you may stop trying. You become careless because you think nothing matters anymore. But the stronger approach is different. You tell yourself, "The morning was difficult, but the entire day does not belong to that moment." You reset. You handle the next responsibility. You refuse to give one bad hour control over the remaining hours. That simple ability can change your life. You do not need to win every moment. You need to stop losing the entire day because of one moment. You also need to become comfortable with uncertainty. One reason hard situations feel frightening is because you cannot see exactly what will happen next. Your mind wants guarantees. It wants to know that your decision will work, the person will respond well, the business will succeed, or the risk will pay off. But life gives very few guarantees. You often have to make the best decision you can with the information you have, and then adjust as you go. Strong people are not people who know exactly what will happen. They are people who trust themselves enough to respond when something unexpected happens. Instead of saying, "What if everything goes wrong?" learn to ask, "If something goes wrong, what can I do next?" This question reminds you that you are not helpless. Maybe your first plan fails. You can create another. Maybe someone rejects you. You can recover. Maybe you lose an opportunity. You can search for another one. Maybe you make a mistake. You can correct it and learn. The future becomes less frightening when you trust your ability to respond. This is why self-trust matters so much. When you constantly avoid difficult things, you secretly begin believing that you cannot handle them. But when you face difficulty repeatedly, you collect proof that you can survive uncomfortable situations. You remember the day you thought you could not finish the work, but you finished it. You remember the conversation you were afraid to have, but you had it. You remember the rejection that hurt badly, but eventually you recovered. You remember the difficult period you thought would never end, but somehow you kept moving. These experiences become evidence. The next time life becomes hard, you do not need to pretend everything is fine. You can tell yourself, "This is difficult, but I have handled difficult things before." There is tremendous power in that sentence because it is realistic. You are not saying the problem is easy. You are saying you are capable of facing something hard. Another part of becoming mentally strong is learning not to turn every problem into a personal attack. Sometimes life is simply difficult. A delayed result does not mean the world is against you. Someone else's bad behavior does not automatically mean you did something wrong. A failed plan does not mean you are incapable. When you take every difficulty personally, you add unnecessary pain to the original problem. Instead, separate the event from your identity. You failed at something. You are not a failure. You had a bad day. You do not have a bad life. Someone rejected you. That does not mean you are worthless. You struggled with a difficult task. That does not mean you cannot learn it. Keep the problem the size it actually is. Strong people also learn how to recover quickly. Strength is not never becoming tired, angry, hurt, or discouraged. You are human. These feelings will happen. The important question is how long you allow them to control you. If something upsets you, give yourself time to process it, but do not build a home inside that feeling. Do not replay the same argument for 3 days. Do not allow one criticism to destroy an entire week. Do not punish yourself for months because of one mistake. Feel what you need to feel, learn what you need to learn, and then return to your life. Recovery is a skill. The more you practice returning to your routine after difficulty, the faster you become at recovering. After disappointment, you return to work. After a bad day, you sleep and begin again. After making a mistake, you correct what you can and continue. You stop demanding that every day feel good before you can move forward. This also helps you deal with difficult people. Some people will never give you the apology, explanation, respect, or understanding you want. If your peace depends on them changing, you give them too much control. You may need to accept that certain people will remain difficult. Instead of constantly trying to change them, change how much access they have to your time, attention, and emotions. Set boundaries where necessary. Stop entering arguments that lead nowhere. Stop explaining yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Your strength grows when you stop expecting difficult people to become easy. Sometimes the hard thing is accepting people as they are and making your decisions based on reality instead of hope. You can still be respectful without allowing someone to repeatedly disturb your peace. You can care about someone while recognizing that you need distance. You can forgive without giving unlimited access. This is another form of doing hard things. Walking away can be difficult. Saying no can be difficult. Choosing peace instead of another argument can be difficult. But difficult does not mean wrong. A strong mind learns to choose what is healthy over what is familiar. There will also be times when you must continue without encouragement. Nobody may notice your effort. Nobody may understand how hard you are trying. You may not receive compliments or support. Can you continue anyway? If you always need encouragement, your discipline will disappear whenever people stop paying attention. Build a quieter kind of motivation. Learn to work because the goal matters to you, not because someone is watching. Some of your most important growth will happen privately. Nobody sees the moment you decide not to quit. Nobody sees the morning when you force yourself to start. Nobody sees the argument you choose not to enter. Nobody sees you correcting your habits when there is no audience. But those private decisions build your character. Over time, something changes. You stop being surprised every time life becomes difficult. You stop thinking every problem means something has gone terribly wrong. You understand that difficulty is part of being alive. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What does this situation require from me?" Maybe it requires patience. Maybe it requires courage. Maybe it requires discipline. Maybe it requires rest. Maybe it requires a boundary. Maybe it requires accepting something you cannot change. The answer will not always be the same, but you become better at responding because you are no longer wasting all your energy wishing the situation were easier. That is the kind of mind you want to build. A mind that can stay clear during pressure. A mind that can continue without perfect motivation. A mind that does not collapse because someone disagrees with you. A mind that can experience disappointment without giving up on life. A mind that knows when to push and when to rest. A mind that understands that hard does not mean impossible. You do not build this mind in one day. You build it through hundreds of small moments. Every time you choose patience instead of anger, you strengthen it. Every time you do the task you wanted to avoid, you strengthen it. Every time you recover from a bad day instead of quitting, you strengthen it. Eventually, the things that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Not because the world became easier, but because your capacity became larger. That is the real goal. Do not spend your entire life asking for less pressure, fewer challenges, easier people and perfect conditions. Work on becoming capable enough to handle more without losing yourself. When life becomes difficult, remind yourself, I do not need this situation to be easy. I need myself to be steady. Then focus on the next useful action. Take the next step. Complete the next task. Have the conversation. Stay calm. Set the boundary. Rest when necessary, then return. Every time you handle difficulty without running from it, you become a little harder to shake. And one day, you will look at a situation that would once have overwhelmed you and realize that it no longer has the same power over you. The problem may still be difficult, but you are no longer the same person who used to face it. You have trained yourself to handle hard things. You have become stronger than the need for life to always be easy. Chapter 7. Become strong enough to handle difficult people and difficult days. Real strength is not only about how much work you can do when everything is going well. It is also about how well you can control yourself when people become difficult, plans go wrong, pressure increases, and life does not give you what you expected. Anyone can feel confident on an easy day. The real test begins when you are tired, disappointed, misunderstood, criticized, or forced to deal with something you did not want. This is where many people lose control. One difficult person ruins their mood. One bad conversation stays in their mind for hours. One problem makes them stop working. One rejection makes them question themselves. One difficult day makes them feel as if their entire life is falling apart. If you want to become stronger, you have to stop allowing temporary situations to control your entire state of mind. Difficult people will always exist. You will meet people who are impatient, rude, selfish, controlling, negative, jealous, or impossible to please. Some will misunderstand you, even after you explain yourself. Some will criticize you no matter what you do. Some will try to pull you into arguments because they enjoy seeing you react. You cannot remove every difficult person from the world, but you can become better at handling them. The first thing you must understand is that you do not have to react to everything. Someone can say something disrespectful without you immediately answering. Someone can disagree with you without you trying to prove them wrong. Someone can misunderstand you without you spending the entire day thinking about how to change their opinion. Your energy is limited, and not every situation deserves a piece of it. When a difficult person says something that triggers you, your first feeling may be anger. That feeling is normal. The mistake is allowing the feeling to make the decision for you. If you react immediately, you may say something you regret, turn a small problem into a large one, or give the other person exactly the reaction they wanted. Train yourself to pause. You do not need a long pause. Sometimes a few seconds are enough to stop an emotional reaction from becoming a bad decision. Ask yourself, what response will help me most after this moment is over? That question forces you to think beyond your current emotion. Sometimes the best response is calm communication. Sometimes you need to say clearly, I do not agree with the way you are speaking to me. Sometimes you need to set a boundary. Sometimes you need to leave the situation. Sometimes you need to remain silent because the conversation is going nowhere. Strength is not always about saying more. Often, it is about knowing when enough has already been said. Do not confuse calmness with weakness. A person who controls their emotions can still be firm. You can say no without shouting. You can disagree without insulting someone. You can leave without creating a scene. You can protect your time without explaining yourself for an hour. You can keep your dignity without trying to win every argument. This becomes especially important when you are already having a difficult day. When you are tired or under pressure, your patience becomes lower. A small comment can feel much bigger than it normally would. This is why bad days require more self-control, not less. Imagine that you wake up late, something goes wrong at work, you receive disappointing news, and then someone speaks to you disrespectfully. Your mind may immediately say, that is enough. I cannot handle anything else today. In that moment, you have two choices. You can allow the pressure to control your behavior, or you can slow yourself down and handle one situation at a time. You do not have to solve everything at once. Handle what is directly in front of you. Complete the next responsibility. Deal with the next conversation. Make the next useful decision. When you try to carry every problem at the same time, your mind becomes overwhelmed. When you reduce life to the next step, difficult days become easier to manage. This is one of the most useful skills you can develop. Learning how to make a hard day smaller. Instead of telling yourself, everything is going wrong, describe the situation correctly. Maybe 2 or 3 things went wrong. That is very different from everything going wrong. Maybe one person treated you badly. That does not mean everyone is against you. Maybe one plan failed. That does not mean your future is finished. Your mind becomes dangerous when it turns one problem into a story about your entire life. One mistake becomes, I always fail. One rejection becomes, nobody will ever choose me. One difficult week becomes, nothing is working. These thoughts feel true when you are emotional, but feelings are not always accurate descriptions of reality. Learn to challenge those thoughts. Ask yourself, what actually happened? Keep the problem the size it really is. If you made one mistake, deal with that mistake. If you had one bad conversation, deal with that conversation. Do not bring every old failure into the present moment. This will help you remain stronger during pressure because you stop adding unnecessary weight to the situation. Another important skill is learning not to take everything personally. Difficult people often behave badly because of what is happening inside them, not because of something you did. A stressed person may speak harshly, an insecure person may criticize you, a jealous person may try to reduce your confidence, a controlling person may become angry when you set boundaries. This does not excuse bad behavior, but understanding it can stop you from carrying everything inside your mind. You do not need to turn someone else's poor behavior into a question about your worth. When someone dislikes you, it does not automatically mean you did something wrong. When someone criticizes you, it does not automatically mean their opinion is correct. When someone refuses to understand you, it does not mean you need to explain yourself forever. You should still listen when criticism is useful. Strong people are not afraid of honest feedback. If someone points out a mistake, look at it calmly. If there is something you can improve, improve it. But if the criticism is only meant to hurt or control you, you do not have to carry it. Learn the difference between feedback that helps you grow and noise that only steals your peace. Difficult days also require you to control your decisions. One of the worst things you can do is make a permanent decision during a temporary emotional state. When you are angry, you may want to end something important. When you are discouraged, you may want to quit. When you are exhausted, you may feel like giving up on a goal you have worked on for months. Do not trust every conclusion you reach when you are emotionally overwhelmed. Give yourself time. Sleep, walk, eat, rest. Return to the decision when your mind is calmer. Sometimes tomorrow will not change the problem, but it will change the way you see it. This is not avoidance. It is maturity. You are choosing not to let a temporary emotion make a decision with long-term consequences. You should also learn how to recover after difficult moments. Strength does not mean nothing affects you. Some situations will hurt. Some people will disappoint you deeply. Some failures will shake your confidence. The goal is not to become emotionless. The goal is to learn how to return. After a bad conversation, return to your work. After a disappointing day, rest and begin again. After making a mistake, correct what you can and continue. After someone hurts you, give yourself time to process it, but do not allow that person to live inside your head for weeks. Recovery becomes easier when you stop expecting yourself to feel perfect immediately. Sometimes you need a little time. Give yourself that time, but stay connected to your responsibilities. Do not turn one difficult moment into complete withdrawal from your life. If you cannot do everything today, do something. If you cannot work for 3 hours, work for 30 minutes. If your mind feels heavy, complete the most important task and leave the rest for later. The goal is not perfection, The goal is to keep yourself from completely falling apart every time life becomes hard. Small actions protect your momentum. Making your bed, finishing one task, taking a walk, preparing tomorrow's plan, or cleaning your space can help you regain control. When your mind feels chaotic, simple actions remind you that you still have power over something. You also become stronger by accepting that some days will simply be difficult. You do not need to turn every hard day into a deep personal crisis. Sometimes life is tiring. Sometimes work is stressful. Sometimes people are annoying. Sometimes things go wrong without a meaningful reason. You are allowed to say, "Today was hard," without saying, "My life is terrible." That difference matters. The stronger you become, the less you need every day to feel good. You begin to understand that happiness and strength are not the same thing. You can be unhappy about something and still handle it well. You can feel disappointed and still act responsibly. You can feel nervous and still do what needs to be done. This is emotional discipline. You stop making your feelings responsible for your actions. Difficult people also teach you boundaries. Some people will continue taking from you as long as you continue allowing it. They may constantly demand your attention, bring unnecessary drama into your life, or expect you to solve every problem for them. You must learn that saying no is sometimes a hard thing you need to do. You may feel guilty at first. You may worry that the person will be upset. But protecting your time and energy is not selfish when it is done respectfully. You cannot become strong if everyone around you is allowed to pull you in every direction. Say no when something does not work for you. Say no when someone repeatedly crosses a boundary. Say no when helping someone would require you to constantly harm yourself. You do not have to become angry. You simply need to become clear. Boundaries also teach other people how to treat you. If you laugh at disrespect, accept constant interruptions, or keep returning after someone repeatedly mistreats you, they learn that there are no consequences. You do not need revenge. Distance can be enough. Reduced access can be enough. A calm refusal can be enough. This is another form of strength, choosing peace, even when part of you wants to keep fighting for understanding. You also have to become strong enough to handle being misunderstood. This is difficult because most people naturally want others to see their intentions correctly. When someone misunderstands you, you may feel desperate to explain yourself until they finally agree with you, but sometimes they never will. You can explain yourself once or twice. After that, you may need to accept that another person's opinion is outside your control. If you spend your whole life trying to control what everyone thinks about you, difficult people will always have power over you. One negative opinion will destroy your mood. One comment will make you question yourself. One person who dislikes you will make you forget the many people who respect you. Become comfortable with the fact that not everyone will understand you. You do not need to be liked by everyone to live a good life. You need to understand your own values, behave in a way you respect, and be willing to correct yourself when you are genuinely wrong. After that, let people have their opinions. This will save you a huge amount of mental energy. Another hard thing is learning to continue after disappointment. Sometimes you will work hard and still lose. You will prepare and still fail. You will trust someone and still be disappointed. You will make a good decision and still experience a bad result. When this happens, do not confuse disappointment with defeat. A disappointing result is information. Look at what happened, ask what you can learn, change what needs to change, then continue. Many people become weak because they expect effort to always produce immediate reward. When the reward does not come, they stop. But strong people understand that effort sometimes produces lessons before it produces results. You may need to try again with a better strategy. You may need more time. You may need to develop a skill you do not have yet. None of this means you should give up. Your ability to continue after disappointment will separate you from people who only work when everything is going their way. There will also be days when you feel completely unmotivated. You do not want to work, exercise, speak to anyone, or deal with your responsibilities. On those days, do not ask yourself to feel motivated. Ask yourself to do one thing correctly. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline can work even when motivation is missing. Begin with something small. Get up, take a shower, clean your space, open the work. Do 10 minutes. Once you start moving, your emotional state may begin to change. Even if it does not change, you have still proven something important. You can take action without waiting for the perfect feeling. That is power. You should also understand that strength requires rest. Becoming strong enough for difficult days does not mean forcing yourself until you are completely exhausted. A person who never rests eventually becomes easier to trigger, easier to discourage, and less capable of making good decisions. Rest is part of discipline when it is used correctly. Rest so you can return stronger. Sleep properly when possible. Take breaks when your concentration disappears. Give yourself time away from problems you cannot solve immediately, but do not use rest as another word for running away. There is a difference between recovery and avoidance. Recovery says, I need to regain my energy, then I will return. Avoidance says, I never want to face this again. Learn the difference. A strong person knows when to push and when to recover. The more difficult situations you handle, the more you begin trusting yourself. You stop becoming terrified every time something unexpected happens. You know that even if today becomes difficult, you can respond. If someone becomes disrespectful, you can handle it. If a plan fails, you can adjust. If someone leaves, you can heal. If you make a mistake, you can learn. If you become exhausted, you can recover. If you feel afraid, you can still move. This is what self-trust looks like. You do not trust life to always treat you well. You trust yourself to respond when it does not. That confidence is much stronger than trying to control everything. There will always be situations you cannot control. The weather, the economy, another person's choices, unexpected problems, illness, delays, rejection, and countless other things can enter your life without permission. If you believe you can only be okay when everything is under your control, life will constantly frighten you. Instead, focus on what you can control, your next action, your words, your boundaries, your habits, your effort, your attitude, and your willingness to continue. Sometimes that is all you have, but it is enough to move forward. When life becomes difficult, stop asking, why is everything happening to me? Ask, what does this situation require from me right now? Maybe it requires patience. Maybe it requires courage. Maybe it requires silence. Maybe it requires action. Maybe it requires admitting you were wrong. Maybe it requires walking away. Maybe it requires resting and trying again tomorrow. Focus on the response instead of fighting reality. The situation may not change immediately, but you will feel more capable because you are doing something useful instead of only worrying. This is the final lesson of forcing yourself to do hard things. You are not doing hard things so you can brag about being disciplined. You are training yourself for the moments when life gives you no easy option. You exercise discipline today so you can stay steady during pressure tomorrow. You practice difficult conversations today so you can speak clearly when something important is at stake. You learn to control your emotions today so one difficult person cannot destroy you tomorrow. Every hard thing you willingly practice increases your capacity. The task you finish when you want to stop builds patience. The workout you complete when you feel lazy builds discipline. The conversation you face instead of avoiding builds courage. The argument you refuse to enter builds emotional control. The bad day you survive without giving up builds resilience. These things slowly become part of your character. Then one day, life brings you something that would have destroyed the old version of you. Maybe it is a serious problem, a painful disappointment, a difficult person, or a period of uncertainty. You notice that you are still affected, but you are not collapsing. You think more clearly. You react more slowly. You protect your energy. You handle what you can. You accept what you cannot control. You continue. That is when you realize why the small, difficult things mattered. They were training. Every time you forced yourself to do something useful when you did not feel like it, you were building a stronger version of yourself. Every time you stayed calm when someone tried to provoke you, you were training emotional control. Every time you continued after a bad day, you were building resilience. Strength is built before you urgently need it. Do not wait until life becomes difficult to start becoming strong. Train now. Do the hard task while you have the choice. Face the uncomfortable conversation before it becomes a bigger problem. Learn how to control your reaction before someone tests you. Build discipline on ordinary days so you have it available on extraordinary ones. Eventually, you stop asking life to become easier. You start asking yourself to become more capable. That does not mean you will never struggle. You will. It does not mean difficult people will stop frustrating you. Sometimes they will. It does not mean bad days will stop hurting. Some days will hurt deeply. The difference is that difficulty will no longer automatically mean defeat. You will know how to stay steady while things are uncertain. You will know how to continue without motivation. You will know how to walk away from people who constantly disturb your peace. You will know how to make a mistake without turning against yourself. You will understand that being strong does not mean carrying everything without emotion. It means knowing that emotions can exist without controlling your entire life. So when the next difficult day arrives, do not immediately wish you were somewhere else. Look at what is in front of you and handle it one piece at a time. When the next difficult person appears, do not immediately give them control over your mood. Decide what response protects your peace and self-respect. When the next hard task appears, do not spend all your energy thinking about how uncomfortable it will be. Start, and when your mind says, "I cannot handle this," remind yourself of everything you have already handled. You have been training for this. You have faced discomfort before. You have continued when you wanted to quit. You have survived days you once thought would break you. Now do it again. Become the person who can face a difficult day without destroying their progress. Face a difficult person without losing themselves. And face a difficult task without immediately looking for an escape. You do not need life to become easy. You need to become strong enough to handle it when it is not. Chapter 8. Do the hard things nobody else is willing to do. Most people want better results, but very few are willing to do the uncomfortable work that better results require. They want confidence without facing fear. They want discipline without giving up comfort. They want success without long periods of boring work. They want respect without developing strong character. They want a better life, but they still want every day to feel easy. This is where you must become different. If you are willing to do the hard things that most people keep avoiding, you slowly separate yourself from the crowd. Doing hard things does not always mean doing something extreme. Most of the time, it means doing simple things consistently when nobody is forcing you. It means getting up when you said you would get up. It means finishing the work when nobody is checking on you. It means controlling your emotions when you could easily lose your temper. It means continuing when the excitement is gone. It means choosing what is useful instead of what feels good in the moment. These choices look small, but your life is built from small choices repeated for years. One day of discipline may not change much. One workout will not transform your body. 1 hour of focused work will not completely change your career. One difficult conversation will not make you emotionally strong. But when you repeatedly choose the harder and better option, those decisions begin changing who you are. Most people underestimate how powerful consistency becomes over time. They are looking for one big moment that will change everything. while ignoring the small responsibilities directly in front of them. They want a breakthrough, but they do not want repetition. They want results, but they become bored with the process that creates those results. You have to learn to respect boring work. There will be many days when nothing exciting happens. You will work and see almost no visible progress. You will practice and still feel average. You will save money and still feel far from your goal. You will exercise and still look almost the same. These are dangerous moments because your mind starts asking, what is the point? The point is that progress is often happening before you can see it. A strong person understands that not every effort gives an immediate reward. Some effort is building skill. Some effort is building patience. Some effort is building discipline. Some effort is simply keeping you moving until the results finally become visible. If you stop every time results are slow, you will never stay with anything long enough to become good at it. Learn to continue without constant proof. This is one of the hard things most people are unwilling to do. They need quick results to stay motivated. They need compliments to keep going. They need someone to notice their effort. When none of those things appear, they lose interest. Train yourself to work quietly. You do not need to tell everyone what you are doing. You do not need approval every time you make a good decision. You do not need someone to say they are proud of you before you continue. Some of the strongest work you will ever do will happen when nobody knows how difficult it is for you. Nobody sees the morning when you force yourself out of bed, even though you feel tired. Nobody sees the hour you spend practicing when everyone else is relaxing. Nobody sees the moment you decide not to answer an insulting message. Nobody sees you sitting alone trying to solve a problem you have failed at many times. Those private moments matter. Character is often built when there is no audience. Anyone can behave well when people are watching. The real question is what you do when there is no reward, no attention, and no pressure from anyone else. Can you still keep your promise? Can you still work? Can you still choose discipline? If you can, you become dangerous in the best possible way because you stop depending on outside pressure to move your life forward. You become capable of leading yourself. Self-leadership is one of the hardest skills to develop. It means becoming the person who tells yourself what needs to be done and then actually does it. You no longer need someone constantly reminding you. You no longer wait until the deadline becomes an emergency. You stop needing fear to force you into action. You learn to act before the situation becomes painful. This will save you from many unnecessary problems. Think about how often people wait until something becomes serious before they take action. They wait until their health becomes bad before exercising. They wait until their work becomes overwhelming before becoming organized. They wait until a relationship is falling apart before communicating honestly. They wait until money becomes a problem before learning how to manage it. Strong people learn to do difficult things earlier. They have the uncomfortable conversation before resentment grows. They handle the small problem before it becomes a large problem. They take care of their health before they are forced to. They prepare before the pressure arrives. Doing hard things early is usually easier than handling the consequences later. This requires thinking beyond the present moment. Your mind naturally cares about how you feel right now. It wants immediate comfort. But discipline asks a different question. What choice will make tomorrow better? Sometimes the answer is uncomfortable. Maybe tomorrow becomes better because you work tonight instead of wasting 3 hours online. Maybe tomorrow becomes better because you say no to something that does not fit your priorities. Maybe your future becomes better because you save money instead of buying something unnecessary today. This is delayed gratification. It means accepting a smaller discomfort now to avoid a much bigger difficulty later. Most people know this idea, but knowing it is not enough. You have to practice it. Every day gives you small opportunities. You can choose the food that supports your health or the food that only satisfies a short craving. You can complete the task or delay it. You can save some money or spend everything. You can sleep at a reasonable time or stay awake doing something useless. You can control your reaction or create another unnecessary argument. None of these decisions looks life-changing in the moment, but years of them become your life. This is why doing hard things matters. You are not only completing a difficult task, you are voting for the kind of person you want to become. When you choose discipline, you strengthen the disciplined version of yourself. When you choose avoidance repeatedly, you strengthen the part of you that runs from responsibility. Every choice is training. You should also learn to do things you are not naturally good at. Many people avoid activities that make them feel inexperienced because they do not want to look foolish. They want to feel competent immediately. But becoming good at anything requires being bad at it first. You may start exercising and feel weak. You may learn a new skill and make obvious mistakes. You may speak in front of people and feel nervous. You may begin a business and have no idea what you are doing. That is normal. Do not allow embarrassment to stop your growth. A beginner looks like a beginner because they are learning. The person you admire today probably spent years doing things badly before they became skilled. You only see the finished ability. You do not see the awkward beginning. Give yourself permission to be inexperienced. Then practice. This is another hard thing most people avoid. They want the confidence of an expert without going through the uncomfortable stage of being a beginner. You cannot skip that stage. The faster you accept it, the faster you improve. Stop being embarrassed by the fact that you have something to learn. Be more concerned about staying the same because you were too afraid to begin. You must also learn how to work through frustration. There will be tasks that do not make sense immediately. You will try something several times and fail. You may feel like you are not improving. Frustration will tell you to stop. Slow down instead. Ask yourself what you are missing. Try another approach. Ask for help if necessary. Study the problem. Return to the basics. Frustration is not always a sign that you should quit. Sometimes it is the moment just before understanding becomes deeper. If you leave every time something becomes confusing, you never develop problem-solving ability. Strong people stay with problems longer. They do not panic the moment they do not know the answer. They think, they test, they adjust, they keep working. This does not mean wasting endless time on something that is clearly impossible. It means giving yourself enough time to learn before deciding that you cannot do it. Many people say, "I can't do this," when what they really mean is, "I cannot do this yet." That final word changes everything. You may not be strong enough yet. You may not be skilled enough yet. You may not understand it yet. You may not have the confidence yet. But those things can change if you keep training. Another hard thing people avoid is responsibility. It is easier to blame someone else when your life is not going well. You can blame your past, your family, your boss, your environment, your lack of opportunities, or people who treated you badly. Some of these things may truly have made life harder for you. But blaming them forever does not move you forward. Responsibility does not mean everything that happened was your fault. It means deciding that what happens next is partly your responsibility. That is powerful. Instead of spending all your energy asking who caused the problem, begin asking what you can do now. If you are behind, what can you learn? If you made a mistake, what can you correct? If someone disappointed you, what boundary can you set? If you wasted time, what can you do with the time you still have? You cannot always choose what happens to you, but you can often choose what you do next. That is where your power is. Taking responsibility can feel uncomfortable because it removes excuses. Once you admit that your habits are part of the problem, you have to change them. Once you admit you have been procrastinating, you have to stop pretending you are only unlucky. But responsibility gives you something excuses never can: control. If everything is always someone else's fault, then your future is always in someone else's hands. When you take responsibility for what you can control, you get some power back. You should also become willing to make decisions other people do not understand. Doing hard things sometimes means standing alone. Maybe people around you want to waste time while you want to work. Maybe they think your goal is unrealistic. Maybe they laugh because you are trying to change your habits. Maybe your decision to become more disciplined makes other people uncomfortable. You cannot always build a different life while making the same choices as everyone around you. Sometimes you have to be willing to look strange for a while. You may have to say no when everyone else says yes. You may have to go home early. You may have to spend less money. You may have to stop joining conversations that always become negative. You are not better than other people because of this. You are simply making choices based on where you want your life to go. Do not expect everyone to understand a goal they do not share. You are responsible for your direction. This is especially important when people try to make you feel guilty for changing. The more disciplined you become, the more your old patterns will change. Maybe you stop being available every time someone calls. Maybe you no longer join every argument. Maybe you become more careful about how you spend your time. Some people may say you have changed. They may be right. Growth requires change. You do not need to stay the same just to make everyone comfortable. Become comfortable with disappointing people when saying yes to them would mean disappointing yourself. This does not mean becoming selfish or cold. Help people when you can. Be kind, be generous, but do not destroy your own priorities because you are afraid someone might be unhappy with your decision. Sometimes the hard thing is saying, I cannot do that. Sometimes it is saying, I need to focus on something else. Sometimes it is leaving a situation that keeps pulling you backward. Your future may require boundaries that your past never had. Another difficult thing is learning to accept correction. Your ego wants to believe you are right. When someone points out a mistake, your first reaction may be to defend yourself. But if you want to become stronger, learn to separate correction from humiliation. Being wrong about something does not make you weak. Refusing to learn because your ego is hurt will keep you weak. If someone gives you useful feedback, listen. You do not have to agree with everything. Think about it calmly. Ask whether there is something you can improve. Sometimes the truth that makes you uncomfortable is exactly what you need to hear. This is why strong people do not only look for people who agree with them. They want truth, even when truth requires change. Become teachable. The person who thinks they already know everything stops growing. There will also be times when the hard thing is admitting you were wrong. Maybe you hurt someone. Maybe you made a bad decision. Maybe you reacted emotionally. Say it clearly. I was wrong. Those 3 words are difficult for many people because they feel like losing. But admitting a mistake is not losing. It is refusing to let pride turn one mistake into 10 more. Correct what you can and move forward. You become stronger when you stop protecting your ego at the cost of your growth. Another hard thing nobody wants to do is wait. We live in a world where everything feels immediate. You can order something and receive it quickly. You can send a message and expect a response instantly. This makes patience even harder. But many important things still take time. Building a strong body takes time. Building financial stability takes time. Building a career takes time. Building trust takes time. Becoming emotionally strong takes time. You cannot force everything to happen immediately. This is where many people destroy their own progress. They become impatient and jump from plan to plan. They keep changing direction because nothing seems to work fast enough. Give good things time. If the process is working, do not abandon it simply because it is slow. Patience does not mean sitting around and doing nothing. It means continuing the right actions while accepting that the result may take longer than you want. This requires real strength. Can you keep working when the reward is still far away? Can you stay consistent when other people seem ahead? Can you continue without knowing exactly when the breakthrough will happen? If you can, you develop a level of discipline that many people never reach. You also need to learn how to handle loneliness during growth. There may be periods when your priorities become different from the people around you. You may spend more time working, studying, training, or building something. You may feel like nobody understands what you are trying to do. Do not immediately return to old habits just because they feel familiar. Use solitude wisely. Learn yourself. Think, plan, work, rest. You do not need to isolate yourself from everyone. Good relationships matter, but you also do not need constant company to feel comfortable. Become capable of being alone without becoming lost. This gives you freedom because you stop accepting bad company simply to avoid loneliness. It also makes difficult people less powerful. When you are afraid of being alone, you may tolerate disrespect because you are scared someone will leave. When you know you can stand on your own, you become better at setting boundaries. Another thing most people are unwilling to do is control their attention. Your attention is constantly being pulled toward entertainment, messages, news, videos, opinions, and distractions. Staying focused has become difficult because there is always something easier available. This makes focus a powerful advantage. If you can sit with one important task for an hour without checking your phone every few minutes, you can accomplish more than someone who works all day while constantly distracted. Practice focus like any other skill. Put the phone away. Close unnecessary tabs. Choose one task. Work on it until the time is finished. At first, your mind will want stimulation. You may feel bored or restless. Stay with the task. You are training your attention. People often say they do not have enough time, but sometimes they have enough time and not enough focus. Do the hard thing. Protect your attention. You will need it for everything you want to build. You should also learn to stop negotiating with yourself once you have made a good decision. If you decided to exercise at 6, do not spend 30 minutes at 6 asking whether you still feel like exercising. That negotiation uses energy. Make the decision once, then follow it. The more you negotiate with your excuses, the stronger they become. You will always find a reason to delay if you search long enough. You are tired. The weather is bad. You can start tomorrow. You deserve a break. Maybe next week will be better. Your mind is very creative when it wants comfort. Do not fight every excuse for an hour. Recognize it and move. Tell yourself, I already decided. Then begin. This simple habit builds tremendous self-control. Your life becomes easier in one way because you spend less time arguing with yourself. Hard things also include doing what is right when it gives you no immediate advantage. Keep your word. Return what you owe. Tell the truth. Do the job properly, even when nobody checks. Treat people with respect when there is nothing to gain from them. Integrity is difficult because sometimes doing the right thing costs you something, but the person you become through integrity is worth more than the temporary advantage you would gain by cutting corners. You have to live with yourself longer than you have to impress anyone else. Build a character you respect when nobody is watching. At the end of the day, doing the hard things nobody else is willing to do is not about becoming better than everyone else. It is about becoming better than the version of yourself that always chooses the easiest escape. You are competing with your old habits. The version of you that procrastinates, the version that quits too early, the version that reacts emotionally, the version that needs constant approval, the version that starts but never finishes. Every difficult but useful choice weakens that old version. You do not destroy those habits in one dramatic day. You replace them slowly, one decision at a time. Wake up when you said you would. Do the work. Make the call. Say no when necessary. Finish what you started. Accept correction. Control your reaction. Keep going when nobody notices. These actions will not always feel powerful while you are doing them. Sometimes they will feel boring, uncomfortable, or frustrating. Do them anyway. One day the results will appear, but even before they do, something more important will already have happened. You will have changed. You will trust yourself more. You will fear difficult tasks less. You will become calmer around difficult people. You will stop being destroyed by difficult days because you have trained yourself to continue through them. That is the reward for doing hard things. You become someone who does not need everything to be easy before you can move. So when you see something important that everyone else keeps avoiding, do not automatically run with them. Look at it carefully. If it is useful, necessary, and within your ability to handle, step toward it. Do the difficult work. Stay longer. Learn more. Practice again. Be patient. Keep your word. Control your emotions. Let other people choose comfort if they want. Your job is not to judge them. Your job is to build yourself. Every time you choose a useful difficulty over an easy excuse, you build strength that will follow you into every part of life. And eventually, when life places a difficult task, difficult person, or difficult day in front of you, your first thought will no longer be, "How do I escape this?" It will be, "What needs to be done?" That is when you know the training has worked. Life will always give you a choice between what feels easy now and what will make you stronger later. The easy choice may give you comfort for a few minutes, but the hard choice often gives you confidence, discipline, experience, and self-respect that can stay with you for years. You do not become strong by waiting until you feel ready. You become strong by acting while part of you still wants to avoid the work. You become disciplined by finishing the task when motivation disappears. You become emotionally stronger by staying calm around difficult people. You become resilient by surviving difficult days without abandoning everything you have worked for. The hard things you face today are preparing you for the harder moments that may come tomorrow. Every time you do something uncomfortable but useful, you prove to yourself that you can handle more. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-trust becomes stronger. Every time you refuse to quit, simply because something became difficult, you build a different kind of confidence. Do not try to change your entire life in one day. Start with one hard thing. Finish the task you have been avoiding. Make the call you keep postponing. Do the workout. Have the necessary conversation. Control the reaction. Complete what you started. Then do another hard thing tomorrow. Over time, the person who once avoided discomfort becomes the person who knows how to handle it. The person who once needed motivation becomes disciplined. The person who once allowed difficult people to control their emotions becomes calmer. The person who once feared bad days learns how to move through them without losing direction. Your goal is not to create a life without problems. Your goal is to become strong enough that problems do not easily control you. There will still be days when you feel tired. There will still be people who test your patience. There will still be moments when you doubt yourself. But now you know what to do. You do not immediately run. You do not immediately quit. You stop, think, and take the next useful step. Remember this whenever your mind asks you to choose comfort over growth. Hard does not mean impossible. Hard often means you are being asked to become stronger than you were yesterday. So stop waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect time, or the perfect conditions. Choose the difficult thing that matters. Do what others keep postponing. Stay when your old habits tell you to escape. Keep moving when motivation disappears. Force yourself to do hard things, not because life should always be painful, but because you deserve to know how strong you can become. And one day, something that once would have overwhelmed you will appear in front of you again. This time you will not panic. You will not immediately look for an escape. You will look at the difficulty and understand that you have been preparing for it all along. You will simply tell yourself, "This is hard, but I can handle hard," and then you will do what needs to be done.